Hey guys, welcome back, and now this is going to be part 3 of the accessory series. And the next lift I'm going to cover is going to be the squat. Now, most people are going to be doing either a medium stance squat, or maybe if they're powerlifting or they like going with a wider stance, maybe they'll go with that option. But when it comes to accessories, I really highly suggest that you do something with a sumo stance. Now, the reason for that is because it'll build up musculature that will actually help your medium stance, or even as if you go a little bit slightly wider into a powerlifting stance. So let's say you get your first squat done, your first mover done. You can go transition directly into a sumo stance. You could go lighter on it, of course, and you don't have to go and use the barbell. You can use the kettlebell, you can use dumbbells, you can use really anything you want, but the whole idea is going to be using the stance. And again, it's going to get musculature that just a regular medium stance or even a powerlifting stance doesn't quite hit. So you'll get adductors, you'll get hip flexors, you'll get outer hamstrings, and that'll all help out with your actual squat. So that's an option. Now, you don't have to take that, but I think it's something worth looking into. A very underrated accessory for your squat is the good morning, because people look at that exercise and they think lower back, and that's true. You'll build some pretty good strength in your lower back with it, but if you're doing it correctly and you're hinging properly, you're actually going to get a lot of the posterior part of your chain. So things like hamstrings, glutes, lower back, those are going to be important, especially when you go heavier and you go above, let's say, 85% of your 1 rep max for your squat. The good morning is going to be a very beneficial exercise to keep progressing. Now, you have to be careful with that exercise because you need to make sure you're hinging properly, that you're not trying to just hinge up from the back, but you're actually loading up the hamstrings and driving through your legs. That's incredibly important. And also, don't go too heavy too soon. Just like any other exercise, you want to build strength over time, but don't try to load it with anything near with what you're squatting. Because after you get your first exercise done with your primary mover, you're going to have a lot less energy and a lot less strength. So go as light as you need to and then build up strength over time. You'll save yourself a lot of risk for injury. Also, when it comes to other exercises, lunges, very good exercise, especially if we're going to start talking about unilateral ones. I like to do reverse lunges, but that you could really pick whatever you like. Front lunge, reverse lunge, using dumbbells, kettlebells, put a barbell on your back. Really, any of those work. Even body weight, just as long as you're doing them correctly, and that's the important thing. A great option is going to be something like a Bulgarian split squat. Now, I'm going to cover that exercise a little bit more in detail another time, but most people are actually doing that incorrectly. So, but if you're doing it the way it's supposed to with good form, it's a wonderful option and a good unilateral exercise. One that I really like for me is a goblet squat, and I love going heavy on a goblet squat, again, with good form. Make sure you're not rounding, because the whole point of a goblet squat is to make sure you have thoracic extension, very much like a barbell front squat. But the core strength that you'll get from it, and the fact that most people can actually go below and lower than their back squat is important, because if you can keep mobility or even build mobility, it'll only help your back squat. So the goblet squat, I think, is phenomenal, and I like to personally go heavy with it, and of course that's relative, but I like to really push that one hard to force myself to get good posture. So if you get to the point where you're using a weight that puts you out of good posture and out of good form, it'll make you aware and it'll get you to fix it. Because if you go too light on it, you're not going to challenge yourself enough, and it won't keep you focused, because at that point you'll just kind of go through the motions. But I really like the goblet squat. I love reverse lunges. Good morning's phenomenal exercise to help build your squat. So you have a lot of options, but things I would avoid would be things like leg extensions, leg curls, just because I think you have better alternatives, as well as not having to be stuck to a machine. And it's just not, they're not going to give you as much, and they can present problems, especially on the knees. So be careful about doing isolation work for your legs. I don't think really anybody needs it, and I would easily and quickly replace them with other movements, even body weight versions. So there's the squat, guys. Thank you so much, and remember, adopt, don't chop.